okay to walk on the grass?
Some yes, some no. This one hasn't got any signs on it at the moment, so...
It is your lawn, though,
I
isn't
know. I guess I'm allowed.
Change is coming to Longleat, the aristocratic house with lions in the backyard. This national treasure belongs to a lord like no other.
Monogamy wasn't ever going to work for me.
But he's handed control to his son and heir, Ceawlin,
Sliding down these was a favourite as a kid.
who's moved back in with his new wife.
Sort of a tingling feeling, because it doesn't really feel real.
There are nobility. They own this joint. They are of a standing and a breeding in society.
Grand houses like this aren't easy to manage.
Steady, steady, steady.
Hundreds of people now depend on them.
Many of you will notice a lot of changes this year.
I wouldn't have said Ceawlin got off to the best start ever.
And having two lords under one roof creates its own tensions.
They live in separate parts of the house, so they do like to live reasonably separate lives.
I try not to do anything to irritate him.
Now they must try to make a home in this most extraordinary of houses.
He's inherited a massive responsibility and a huge amount of history.
You have to just not be scared to use it. There's no point having anything if you don't enjoy it.
We haven't done this before.
It's an early morning in peak summer season. On the first floor of Longleat House, it's breakfast time. Lady Weymouth, or Emma as she prefers to be called, is now 6 months pregnant.
Hi.
Morning. How are you? Hi there.
Her husband is Lord Weymouth, or Ceawlin. Their housekeepers are due in late this morning, so it's a self-service breakfast. Ceawlin's days are now filled with estate business, but Emma's time is her own.
What's your normal routine in the morning?
I wake up quite early, and then, well, depends what you call early, sort of 7-ish, 8-ish, and then what do we do? Put the TV on, have a bath, and then potter around, sorting things out. Just depends, really.
Thanks.
Ta-da!
Thank you very much.
Take that one away.
Ceawlin and Emma have become responsible for a house that costs over £3 million a year to maintain. To pay for it, the estate needs visitors, so it has a safari park with over 1,000 wild animals. There are pubs, hotels and shops, family rides, and its own miniature railway. And in the centre of it all, the 16th century house itself, manned by over 40 guides. The head guide is Ruth.
Oh.
She's worked here for 13 years.
Oh. Off we go.
Are you going to be late for work?
As long as I'm there as the door opens. See, this is where you change from being at home, grubbing about. As soon as you see the building, you think, wow. And then you're in work mode. What else can we think of to get that more interesting to our visitors? Good morning. There we are, we're open when you're ready, if you'd like to come on through.
Having an aristocratic family still living in the house is one of the fascinations for visitors.
I mean, a lot of overseas visitors are astounded that there's a person who lives in the house.
And they think, is he royalty? They don't, is it a palace? And you then have to explain about the peerage and know it's a house and why it was built in the first place. And they are absolutely agog.
Ceawlin's father, Lord Bath, has lived on the top floor for the last 61 years. Ceawlin and Emma moved into the floor below a year ago.
The very obvious difference, now this is me speaking very personally, is that he and Emma are very much in love and they have got a new baby coming, and I don't think this house has seen this for a long, long time. That's going to be the biggest difference in the house. Emma's very glamorous, she's very beautiful, she's very young, and so she really just brings a freshness to the whole place.
Gotta get used to steering it without crashing. Whoa.
Emma's ordered herself a pram. It's just been delivered.
I honestly don't think I can have it anywhere else. It's so big.
It's a silver cross, the model favoured by the royal family.
How do you make it change direction? Whoops. I have to get good at not banging into things before the baby comes. Whoops.
Her housekeepers have arrived to help road test it.
It does need practice. I'm scared it won't fit in the lift. It's so big.
Through here, please.
Right, let's have a go. Do you want to try? Thanks. Literally only just. Like, not even a centimetre. Get used to it.
Before moving to Longleat, Emma grew up in an affluent part of Kensington in London. Her father was a Nigerian oil tycoon. She was raised by her mother, Susanna.
You must have been so delighted when Emma and Ceawlin got together.
It is a fairy tale. It is extraordinary, yeah. Who could have believed it? I'm so happy for them. They love each other so much. Isn't it great?
Emma was 27 when she first left home.
You were living together right until she
Yeah.
got married?
Yeah, because I'm a very old-fashioned mum. Obsessed with, where are you? When are you coming home? Always looking after her. I drove Emma to school every single day of her school life, even to university and back again.
You're proud of her?
I adore her. I'm obsessed with her. My doctor says I'm suffering from grief since she married Ceawlin.
Emma's new home sprawls across 9,000 acres and contains a whole village, Horningsham. Residents include many retired Longleat staff and farmers. It's Sunday, and the morning service is about to begin. Today, a newcomer is joining the congregation.
Oh wow! I thought we'd be first in. We're not. They're all busy already.
Hello. I'm Bob.
Bob is Longleat's new chief executive.
Yes, I'm Bob. Yeah, nice to meet you.
He's a devout Christian who now lives in the village.
God, hear our prayer. We pray for an end to vicious rivalry within the European community. We pray for support groups, Rural Stress Information Network, Farm Crisis Network, and Rural Minds. We pray for foresters, balancing long-term investment and short-term economic return. So we will sing hymn 106.
Bob wants to change Longleat for the better, using Christian principles to do it.
I think I was telling you about John Maxwell, wasn't I?
John Maxwell is a priest who became a management guru.
So I like to read it, especially when I'm at work.
And do the staff know about this book?
Well, I'm sure they know about the Bible. No, I don't think they know too much about the book, but I do think much of what we're doing here is I think based on some aspects of biblical leadership.
What's Ceawlin's take on your approach?
Well, we don't have the same life view, but I do think we can agree on the principles.
I don't know if I've got the book here.
Bob's lent Ceawlin another book written by a monk.
So this is effectively a management manual, which is something that Bob believes very strongly, and I must confess I haven't read it yet, but I did only get it the other day, so I will be reading this over the coming days or weeks.
Servant leadership means those at the top try to help their staff instead of just ordering them around.
I mean, Ceawlin is a lord.
Yes.
I mean, he's the lord of the manor. Can he be a servant and a leader?
Yeah, he can. No, I can tell you, just a silly little thing. When we walk around the grounds here, if I walk by a piece of garbage, I'll pick it up, and why wouldn't I? It's there, it's right there. I should do it. I'm not above doing it. He does that too now. He didn't do that when I first came, but to me that's a nod to when someone from the staff sees that, that's a big thing, right? It says what we're trying to say.
Bob's new ethos also applies to his staff.
Hello.
He wants them to help each other more, instead of just focusing on their own area. Lee has been a mechanic and driver on the Longleat miniature trains for 2.5 years. Bob wants him to start helping on other rides too, when they need a mechanic.
Extra to your responsibilities?
Yeah, extra on responsibilities, yeah. How do
you feel about that?
I didn't mind to start with, but that was when I was under the impression I would be getting something back in return through my salary, obviously. But unfortunately, that hasn't come into fruition. From how I see things, it's been a bit of a downward slope.
Hello there. You ready for a train ride?
Lee's made it clear to Bob he does not want to change his role.
I've given 100% in this job ever since I started, but when they're not going to support me, I need to focus solely on the railway now.
The miniature railway is a legacy of Ceawlin's grandfather, Henry. It was part of the move to help make the estate pay for itself.
Quick as you can, thank you, sir. As quick as you can. On you go, sir.
It wasn't quite what he'd been brought up to expect.
If my father knew what I was doing, he'd turn in his grave.
He'd been raised when the aristocracy knew few limits.
He was someone who had that sense of, I guess, being part of an elite because their world was so disconnected and unreal compared to the lives of everybody else, compared to the real world.
Lord Bath remembers when the daily paper, the Times of course, used to be pressed and ironed each morning by a housemaid before it was put on the breakfast table. In his grandmother's day, even the shoelaces were ironed by the servants. His grandmother refused to handle any loose change unless the coins were first washed each day by her lady's maid.
But even as he dragged Longleat into the modern world, Ceawlin's grandfather also indulged his passion for collecting unique historical memorabilia. The collection is stored away from the public on the top floor.
And, pistol. Oh. Hello, sorry, Kate. We just cut for a minute.
What are you looking for?
I can't remember which door it is. It's been so long since I've been in there.
It's down the corridor.
I haven't walked around up here for years and years, so...
Actually, this way soon.
Thank you.
Is this a cabinet again?
Yeah. Churchill memorabilia, Thatcher memorabilia, and more controversially, Hitler memorabilia.
Why did he collect this stuff?
I don't know, why do people collect anything? They get to be in their bonnet about something and it becomes an obsession, doesn't it?
Oh, it's very pretty.
Can you just pull the blind down? This is one of the watercolours.
It's one of Hitler's watercolours. And you just got me on camera saying it's very pretty. Well.
I mean, he was a controversial figure.
Who, my grandfather or Hitler?
Oh.
My grandfather. Yeah, look, I don't really understand what the Hitler thing was about, so I would rather not talk about it, to be honest. I'm kind of agonising over what should be done with it. I don't think profiting from it would sit very well somehow. I don't think I certainly wouldn't be comfortable with that. So, you know, I'm wondering whether a Holocaust museum might want it or not. I don't know. So we should probably make inquiries. But it has been suggested to me that, you know, some nutcase in Texas might pay a lot of money for it, but I don't think you can sell that kind of stuff for a profit.
It's hard to know what to do.
It's hard to know what to do. I think the most important thing is that it's not in view.
He does come home for lunch most days. It's obviously got the wrong time meetings today. Guess what? It's what time?
With friends and family 120 miles away in London, Emma spends a lot of time with her dog, Monkey.
Good girl.
She's good company.
Yeah. My God, she's like my best friend. Sometimes I'm on my own when Ceawlin goes to the office and things, so now I've got Monkey, I'm never on my own. Stop it.
Emma and Ceawlin's private apartment is normally off limits to the public, but not today.
We're going through into a part of the house that isn't normally seen at all. So we just need to bear that in mind, that we are going to be going through, you know, sensitive areas such as bedrooms and bathrooms. Nobody in them. It's not that sensitive. But, you know, it is their house. OK, let's go through to the other side.
The family have to allow this tour for tax reasons. The private flats are filled with antique furniture, which would normally be subject to inheritance tax. But they claim exemption by letting the public regularly see it.
This is another piece, which is really lovely, because if you look at the frieze on there, look, can you see the entwined serpents and the bar lambs? So into this room, which is
Even the family's bedrooms are part of the tour. This is Ceawlin's mother's.
And just about everything in here is listed. The bed itself, the side bedroom cabinets, even the mirror. Everything is tax exempt.
Next, Ceawlin and Emma's own bedroom.
Come on through. So again, you've got the beds, you've got the mirrors, you've got the chairs, you've got the wardrobes.
Splendid.
Or the day bed.
No, the hats.
The hats.
Like the family photo. Yes, I know. It's the heir. That's the heir. That's not his wife. His wife.
Whoops.
it's odd with people coming through rooms that you live in, but to get that tax exemption, that is the price you have to pay. Or you could move the items out of your room and have them put somewhere else. But if you want to live with the beauty of that furniture, then this is what you have to do. Yeah, because if we didn't do it and the tax inspector finds out that we're not doing it, then he could say, right, we'll have all the tax money back. And obviously that you just can't afford to do that.
It's 7 a.m. Operations manager Daisy starts her day.
Morning, Daisy. You're going to think weightlifting on a Friday morning.
She's been hand-picked by Bob to help him change the culture at Longleat. She's been in the job for 3 months.
How can so many boxes accumulate over a Thursday evening?
How are your days generally then?
They are foggy.
Like this?
Foggy. Absolutely foggy.
Daisy's responsible for the visitor experience across the park.
That's a sign.
First job of the day, to check the staff have left the place looking right.
Always make... Although I don't think that's really the right signage. Just little things, attention to detail. We just had some work done here from where the simulators were. So we've just had some tarmacking done. And obviously you've just seen they've gone in the morning. And no one ever thinks to just do the last thing, which is take down the signs. It's all well and good putting diversion signs in place, but when no one takes them down. Sometimes like being here when staff aren't. Have they been checking the water levels?
Daisy manages over 100 people.
There's something about a checklist that sometimes makes people go numb to actually doing things. So it's always well and good to just go, have you checked the levels? It's all well and good ticking it. I've seen you've ticked it. I've seen you signed it. But have you checked it? So.
Tell me about Daisy.
Daisy was a real gem for me coming here, and she fits in I think the mold that we want as a leader, that has a servant attitude. You know, she's willing to do what it takes. You'll often see her jumping on and helping run a ride, or cleaning an area up, working alongside her team. It's exactly the kind of thing that we want to cultivate, and she's doing that naturally.
It's mid-afternoon. One of the family rides has broken down.
Basically, as you know, it won't move forward now until we hit start exit, so obviously we need to get the full cycle in before we can fully see that it's going to be going.
Daisy's hurried to the scene to ensure it's fixed as fast as possible.
Hasn't been fully tested yet. As soon as we're in that position, we'll open to the public.
You've been very positive about it all.
I am. It's going to be absolutely fine.
Despite his wishes to stick to the railway, Lee is one of those called in to help.
Things have got to change. There's no segregation. There's no, oh, well, they can do this and we'll just do this. We're all at the pump together. We're all doing this together, and we need to do this together. Can you keep it cycling, Andrew? Andrew, could you keep it cycling for me?
Is that number 2 there?
With Lee's help, the ride is soon back up and running.
Don't send that next one.
Brilliant. All feel okay? Units okay? Sounding healthy? Fantastic.
I'll leave you to it then.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much.
It seems like there's a lot of power being given to one person who's young, very young, and not very experienced, which obviously can lead to certain issues.
You mean Daisy?
I'm not going to name names. Let's just say she's making my life really hard.
Although a whole new team now manage the estate, the house still belongs to Ceawlin's father, Lord Bath. He lives in a 5-room apartment on the top floor, looked after by his butler, Michael. Lord Bath is still married, but his wife splits her time between Longleat and a home in France.
Thank you.
He's always been famous for his flamboyance and his extramarital wifelets.
Are you on the lookout for a new wifelet by any chance?
I would never say no if they sent them lovely photographs.
Right. Do they not get jealous?
Well, I have enormous problems. I'm lying if I say different.
Now 82, he's still visited by his wifelets, but often he's alone.
What's the perfect sort of evening for you?
I would watch television until I wish to go to bed, I think.
What's your favourite sort of programme? What do you like watching?
Documentaries, really. But if you ask for a bit of fiction, I like Game of Thrones.
Why that? Why that programme?
I find it both novel and exciting.
You're still enjoying your life?
Yes, been a pleasant life, and one which I've continued to strive to fulfill, but it's not been an unending success story.
What would you have liked?
Oh,
do you think? What are your regrets?
No, they're not regrets. It's just it's not been as fulfilled as it could have been.
Do you believe in love? Do you think you will one day find someone that you're absolutely devoted to?
No, I don't actually use the word love. I'm looking for lovely relationships, which might be, for whatever reason, different each relationship. But I don't actually believe that love means too much.
Right.
The actual romantic idea of love, no, I don't suppose it's something that will centre on my life.
So you're not an old romantic at heart?
No.
Ceawlin lives a far more conventional life and takes the business of running the estate seriously.
Quite busy.
Not bad for a Friday.
The safari park is Longleat's main attraction, and looking after all the animals throws up unique challenges. He's currently spending over £1 million on a vast new animal house.
So what's happened since we were last up here?
We're pouring the concrete floor now.
Right.
So we're doing another pour right now.
Okay.
And this will be all concrete here. This is where the washdown area is.
Right.
This state-of-the-art facility is being made for the sole use of a single animal.
I mean, it's huge.
It's huge, huh? Absolutely.
But there's a chance it's being built in vain. The animal in question currently lives half a mile away. Meet Anne, a 60-year-old Asian elephant who was rescued by Longleat 3 years ago. A former circus elephant, she suffered cruel treatment at the hands of her keepers. Now she is nearing the end of her days. She suffers from arthritis and finds it very difficult to walk. Her current accommodation is slightly cramped, and the hard floors aren't good for her knees. But Anne is settled here, and her keepers are starting to get anxious about moving her.
She's certainly comfortable here because she knows the building, she knows the yard, she knows the grass paddock, she knows the people that work within this area, she knows the sound, how the traffic comes down the road, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the sensations. She knows it all now because she's been up in this building long enough.
I mean, it's like moving an old lady from a retirement home from one to another, isn't it?
Yes, you see those stories in the press all the time of ladies that have lived somewhere for, you know, their whole life or whatever, and all of a sudden they're told, right, OK, you've got to move, but they're like, but I like it here, I know this, and, you know, tragically, again, some of those stories end in tears. They never really get over the move. I really need to focus on what myself and the rest of the team think is the right thing for Anne.
The new elephant house was planned before keepers realised how frail Anne had become.
If you had the decision over again, would you build something like this?
I could get myself in trouble here, but no, honestly speaking, no.
Why?
Because although it's a wonderful thing to be doing, frankly speaking, it doesn't make commercial sense.
Emma's visiting friends and family in London.
How are you? Come in. I've acquired another one. Sneaky. This is Monkey's sister, and we're going to call her Mouse. We got her yesterday.
The interior of this house was designed by Emma's mum, who recently saw one of the inspirations for it passing the front window.
I was popping across there to do something on the desk, and I looked and I saw it was Nicky Haslam. And I opened the door and I said, "Is this my hero?" And he said, "Because everything I do, it's like Nicky Haslam first." I look at him, and then he said, "Yes." And I said, "Come in, come in, come in. I will show you this house. Isn't it incredible? Have you seen a house like this in central London? I mean, can you beat it? Look at it. All these little gardens. Isn't it wonderful?" He was like, "Yes, lovely." And I thought, when he left, "You'll think I'm nuts." And of course he's right. Right, I'm getting ready. So we have to finish getting ready. Come on
then. Emma's been a titled aristocrat for more than a year.
Do you feel like Lady Weymouth now?
I mean, I don't know, maybe. I think it's more when you get recognised or do an interview or something that you really think about it. Because obviously on a day-to-day basis you just get on with it, sort of thing. Not like it makes it any less special being there or that we're any less appreciative of how lucky we are to be there. But I just think that you just, life, you know, just goes and you just get on with everything.
Do you miss life in London and going out and getting dressed up?
Sometimes. It's like FOMO, fear of missing out, but then you get over it and you sort of don't care as much because you think, well, I'd rather, you know, be doing something so incredible for the sake of missing a few parties. I think you can't really worry about that stuff.
Emma's going to a party with her friend Julia.
How massive is that?
Let me see from the side. Give us a pose.
Ta-da! It got bigger at that end.
I will kiss you, but I'll get lipstick on you, Sinbad, so I don't want to do that.
It's good, isn't it? I know, yay!
Are we late?
Doesn't matter. We are late. Let's go.
Sorry, that's my fault. So nice to see you.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, bye.
Bye, darling. Bye.
Oh, it's nice.
Bye.
Stop it, monkey. I like to think.
So good this weekend. I watched so much TV. It's unreal.
Did you see Strictly? I saw Strictly.
Yeah.
I watched it with my mum.
Yeah, it was good. I really want to do Strictly. It was so fun.
I want you to. Maybe for the tickets.
One day.
The party is a book launch at Giles Brandreth's, who, as it happens, is friends with Lord and Lady Bath.
How are you?
Hi, Giles.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you for having us.
We're thrilled to have you. You know, I know your father-in-law quite well.
Really?
We go back quite a long way.
I didn't know.
Didn't you know that?
No, no one tells me anything.
Didn't I tell you? You're sure, really?
No.
Oh, I know most of your secrets.
Really?
Anyway, come on in, come on in. Alexander is notorious for his wifelets. But she didn't know that I knew Alexander.
No.
He's been to supper at our house over the years several times. So's his wife. Actually, she is lovely.
They've stayed married.
Yeah.
They've stayed married all these years.
Yes, they're still married. Yes. It seems to work for them. You know? And of course, yes, along the way, there have been tears. Of course there have. But there are people, you know, who live monogamously, married to the same person for 50 years, and there's still tears.
One relationship which hasn't lasted is that of Longleat and its train mechanic, Lee. He was made redundant yesterday. It's left the railway temporarily short-staffed.
All hands on deck today. It is, yes.
As a servant leader, Daisy's come to offer help in their time of need.
What do you need me to do?
They don't seem that grateful.
What are you going to do? I'm going to find out. Be where I need to be. Is there anything else you want me to, can I wash things, wipe things?
No, well, so there isn't really much you can do at the moment.
How are the staff feeling?
They're fine. They're okay. It's,
a bit sensitive today.
Well, it's an emotive time, and I think there will always be an area of sensitivity, but the good thing is there is an understanding of moving forward, and there is also an understanding that to move forward we need to be a team.
Daisy decides the platforms need clearing.
A lot of times you can release someone, and I believe it can be really good for them. This might not be the right place for them, and so that doesn't mean that we care about them less. It just means, you know, we're being honest with them, and that's the trouble that everybody has, I think, with this, is that when you think about, oh, we're going to love them and you know, we're going to lead them the way Jesus would. It's this what they miss is that, you know, being honest means being honest.
It's good having him here. He was a hard worker, he had a passion for the job. That's what management want. It's their choice, their decision. Can't really do a lot about it.
We were a good team, but the point is that let's say it's
Upset.
yes, very.
Is due to move to her new home soon. But it will require her to walk half a mile, and her keepers must decide if she is fit enough.
Okay.
They've been working with an elephant osteopath to improve her mobility.
I'll start round here.
just have a feel, quality of the muscles and the skin. Keep these shoulders moving nicely.
Yep.
And then as soon as we get back behind them, the quality here just feels really good.
Good.
Because I can lift right up and we can get really good movement.
Yeah.
And then she's going to alternate through there, and then she's going to stretch through. There you go. And now she's... So using 3 tons. And me as a fulcrum. I'm really pleased actually at the way she can lock those stifles now, because even a year ago she wasn't locking that right.
No.
And for the last 6 months she's consistently locked it.
Yeah.
She's doing really well. She's in the twilight of her life.
Are we talking about months?
Could be, or a couple of years, something like that. It's really difficult to say.
Do you feel that she's going to be able to move to her new home?
They wouldn't attempt to move her if they didn't think that she could cope with it. So it would be monitored and staged such that, yes, the last thing anybody would want is that the move finishes her off.
At the back of the house, on the ground floor, is an historic old kitchen, which Ceawlin's grandfather turned into a shop. After living above it this last year, Emma's had an idea to improve it.
So, tell me.
This is the Victorian kitchen, which at the moment is it's sort of on the way out if you do the house tour. So it's a shop, and obviously we sell kitchen type things. The actual food that we sell now has Longleat labels, but it's not made locally. I just think that we can make it better because we can make it more relevant, more rooted to Longleat, because it will be actual, genuine local produce. I think that's the one thing that's missing.
Emma wants to get rid of this shop and turn it back into a working kitchen, selling freshly made food.
I think it enhances Longleat for so many reasons. It sort of brings... I think everybody loves food, everybody's interested in food now more than ever. We have obviously all our cafes and things, we don't actually produce anything here. We have a kitchen garden, but it's rented out. So all of that sort of needs bringing back together, and I thought this was the time to do it, considering we live here and we're the family, and it makes sense. It just makes so much sense, and it's an exciting project to do.
Brimming with ideas, Emma has noticed a space from her window that she thinks could be turned into a walled garden, providing produce for the new kitchen. She's asked Bob and a design team to come and see what they think.
We've got so much space. There's nothing in here. And then there's this. So this is just a sort of nothing space at the moment. Look, there's nothing happening in here. I literally look at this. My window, my kitchen looks down on this, so I stare at this often and wonder what it's here for. It's so lucky to have this because it makes so much sense.
This is functional for us. It's right in the
perfect.
It's right off of where the kitchen would be.
And that
to me, it's really.
Does that go into where we just walk round? Does it?
Yes, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And then you come out the other side, right by the back of the house.
And it wouldn't take a lot to clean
So
to clean it up.
No, it's perfect.
It's good. You know, everybody's massively keen to make it happen. And Bob, obviously, we need his approval. He's the boss. Monkey, don't do that.
You're the boss.
Well, yeah, but, you know, business-wise, it needs to make sense from a retail point of view, and it needs to be something worth investing in. And so I'm glad that Bob is on our team for this. We're not fighting anyone. They can make it happen. It's really exciting. You know, for free.
Emma wants to oversee the kitchen project herself.
This is the kind of, like, look of the thing.
Okay, they've mapped out a plan. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, that's
Great.
it. That's it from the front.
Okay, fantastic. So when would you start actually producing stuff from the kitchen that our guests can buy? Literally at Christmas. Good.
Very excited.
Good.
Yeah.
New products for Christmas.
It's gonna be good. No pressure. We've got like weeks.
New products, new baby,
New everything. I think it is important that I do something.
You want to have a role here?
Yeah, definitely. I want to have a role and not be just, hanging around, not doing anything. That's silly.
You could be a trophy wife.
I suppose so. But no, it's not. That wouldn't be good. I want to be, productive.
The Longleat miniature train is now fully staffed as Bob wanted. But out of the blue, disaster strikes.
You get that call, but you really don't have any information. And you have a sense that it can be serious, but you don't know how serious. And there's always that moment where your heart's up in your throat, and it was for me.
Halfway through the summer season, one of the trains derails with more than 150 passengers on board. One woman seriously injures her leg. The incident hits the headlines.
Now, in the last few minutes, news has come through that a woman's been flown to hospital after part of the miniature train at Longleat Safari Park overturned. 2 carriages came off the track as the train came into the station.
The HSE, Government Health and Safety Inspectors, arrive to investigate the accident. Daisy's been up all night pulling together the information they need.
How are you feeling? Daisy, how are you feeling? Tired?
No. Motivated.
The train derailed on a corner where the speed limit is 4 miles per hour. Mobile phone footage of the incident suggests the driver may have been going too fast. But the investigators will also want to look at the way the miniature train has been managed.
What I think they're going to do is lift the car up,
right,
and look for any damage.
So when are the HSE coming back?
Well, they're still here, technically, and I
They're
think
here now on site,
they're
are they?
here. They're kind of working, so we'll know pretty soon whether they're going to be back tomorrow. And this train, as is, has been operating for an awfully long time, and so it's a bit of an enigma for us. But I think someone's gotten hurt, and it's not okay.
The train will remain closed to visitors during the investigation. If they find management at fault, the HSE can bring criminal charges.
I don't think it's fully sunk in yet, what I felt at that precise moment in time, because half of you goes into utter shock because you prepare for these things, you get ready for these things, you have everything lined up so that you know how to respond to a call. But when you actually hear it, it's a completely different feeling. There's a lot of pressure involved, at this current precise amount of time. At present, there's a lot of pressure. There's always been a lot of pressure. But it has, in a sense, it's brought it home.
Anne's state-of-the-art new home is finally finished. It has deep sand floors, thermostat heating, and some goats for company. Anne's keepers want to move her into it today. The only problem, it's a half-a-mile walk from where she is now. The move will be a huge operation.
From a point of view of the support vehicle, the support vehicle carries everything we need for any emergencies. It's got ropes and things like that. If she decides to go off track and gets bogged down or stuck or is just not really sort of going the route we need to.
She will either walk up the road to her new house, or she'll get so far and she'll turn round and walk back down the road to her old house. If we get so far and Anne really decides and clearly turns round and wants to walk back home, there's no point in standing in her way. She's 3.5 tons. Just come on, Anne.
Absolutely. There's that first grey shape coming up over the brow just before morning, isn't it?
You're 3 done?
Yeah, we're all ready as well.
And is now leaving the building.
Okay, here we go.
A £1 million investment is riding on Anne being well enough to make it.
We all want to just try and make out that this is just a normal kind of day, and we're all pretty easy about this, and we're not excited, we're not nervous, that we all just feel fine and we're all just going to go for a walk up the road.
Oh, yes.
If there's one thing you've learned from animals, is you never know what they're going to do, ever.
She's going to disappear behind the grade of the hill now.
She drags her back feet a bit where she can't pick them up, but I think once she gets to that hill, that's the hurdle, and then it's kind of downhill effectively. The rest of it's pretty flat, but it just depends how she's feeling today, really. She appears to be moving quite well at the minute.
You've been a good girl, Freckles. Bit downhill now, sweetheart. It's a nice bit now. Good girl. You've been a good girl, darling. Good girl, darling. Keep going. Move up.
After 15 minutes, Anne is 2/3 of the way there.
It's looking good, isn't it? Don't you think?
To be honest, that went perfectly. The team were great. The lads did exactly what was asked of them. But ultimately, of course, it doesn't matter how good your team are. If Anne doesn't want to play ball, then we wouldn't be up here right now. So it was a great effort from the team, but also from Anne as well, I think, to play ball and kind of work with us on what we wanted to do.
And you're such a good girl, aren't you? Hey? You're a clever girl.
A selfie? Oh, it's a selfie. I'll go with him.
Yeah.
Great to see you. Thank you very much.
The Longleat train has been declared safe to run.
The train's back in operation. We've got lots of families that have been on the past couple of weekends, and absolutely great feedback, which has been brilliant.
Safety inspectors have delivered their findings.
The principal reason for the incident was that the operator was coming into the station too quickly. So he was coming in much faster than he'd ever been trained to.
The investigation did find flaws in management. The trains date back to Lord Bath's time, and most never had speedometers, forcing drivers to estimate their speeds.
The trains on this gauge of track aren't not required to have a speedometer. That's one of the basic things that we've changed.
Now the whole fleet has them. Although there were failings, they were not considered serious enough to warrant further action. No charges were brought.
I mean, at one point you were concerned that you might be prosecuted.
Yeah.
What did you feel about
that? You know, not great, of course. It never really was the overriding issue. I think it was more about, you know, what happened and you know, who was impacted by it. We have to live with what happened, and you know, the focus has really been on making sure it can't happen again.
And sort of I'm feeling now where we are now as a department, as a company, my team, they're finally sort of showing their strengths. They're finally in a position where we can review the team structure, and we're so strong, and we're all working well together, and it's finally in harmony. I suppose how I'm feeling now is highly positive.
Hi Linda, just to confirm, I'll be heading up there in about 15 minutes. Sorry if I'm a few minutes late.
That's fine, okay.
Hi. For the baby, it's going to be tough for him.
How do these fit into the grey bond listed landscape?
Well, they don't, clearly. If one's being honest, we were looking to impress them.
Oh my God.
Nice and gentle, and step towards me.
I'm confident that it's been very well planned.
Nobody saw fit to consult my father, so he has taken umbrage.